I just thought I would do a proper walk around of my car, because I've never really done one at all. It's 2006, so it's an 06 MG ZR. It originally started out as a 1.4, so I think it's a 105 SE trophy, I think they call it. I think it's the high spec one. It was originally blue. I bought it for the sum total of £200 with a snapped cam belt. So I basically bought it, and then with the plan to turn it into what it is today. That's what I always had planned, and that's what's happened. So it's got quite a large intercooler on it. The intercooler kind of comes right up here. I sprayed it black. So it's got standard MG wheels. I think they're off the ZS, the 180 I believe. ZR 160 or ZS 180. Discs and calipers. These have been professionally powder coated in the colour of my choice. Everything's been painted under there. I don't know whether you can really see. The calipers, the discs need another coat of paint. The struts, the inner wheel arch, it's all been painted by me, not professionally. Same on the rear. ZR 160, ZS 180, discs and calipers. It's G-Max, lowering springs on standard shocks. The front again has, can't see that, G-Max spring standard shocks. Windows have been tinted. Those lights are standard. So the spoiler's been painted black. The roof is vinyl. Custom 2.5-inch exhaust. Mandrel bends, decap all the way to the front. It's all been professionally resprayed. Pretty much bare shell. All the windows came out, the rubbers, everything came out. Anything that wasn't painted was the underside. So let's have a look inside. So all the door shuts have been painted all the way around. So you wouldn't know this car was blue originally. Have a quick look in the boot. So the boot wasn't painted, but that's due. It needs a matte. You wouldn't see that, so all these shuts have been painted all the way around. Battery in the boot. This is my fuse or trip, which is a 200 amp. Batteries in there with basically a cable off of an arc welder, buy it cheap like that. Amplifier, not you can really hear it. Speakers. So again, standard interior. It's got these additional ZR to stick on from Lockwood. Not the Lockwood you're thinking of. Standard seats, standard dash. Inside it's basically standard. Some additional gauges is an air fuel ratio gauge, which is a wideband lambda, which is in the exhaust downpipe. This is after the turbo. This is an EGT gauge, exhaust gas temperature gauge. There's a probe in the exhaust manifold pre-turbo, which measures the temperature of the gases coming out of the engine. So obviously when you're on boost under power, you don't want to get into kind of melty pistons category, which is 900 to 1000 degrees C, depending on what your pistons are made out of. Obviously standard pistons start to melt, don't quote me, but around the 1100 degrees C mark, so you don't want to get there. Standard gauge cluster. Unusually for a ZR driver, I've got a full tank. We've got a boost gauge, which is tapped into the inlet manifold, which reads pressure and boost, or vacuum and boost. We've got oil pressure gauge, which is tapped into where the oil pressure light sender normally goes, and then the oil temperature gauge, which there's a tapping in the actual sump itself. So everything else in here is pretty standard. The interior is all pretty standard. Okay, under the bonnet we have a T-Series Turbo T16. So this engine obviously wasn't originally in here. This was originally a K-Series, which is the engine that it would have come with originally, 1.4. This is a 2 litre turbo. Obviously it's been extensively modified, which I've done myself. It has a PG1 gearbox with a Type B torsion differential in it. It has a T28 turbo off of a Nissan Pulsar GTR, which has been refreshed. It has a 2.5 inch snakehead down hop pipe, which basically comes directly off of the turbo down and along under the car, and it's connected at the back. Internals in this are JE pistons, which are a custom spec that I bought second hand, but brand new. I'm a little unsure of exactly what the specifications are, but I believe they're closely matched to the M series turbo, which is the predecessor to this engine. Basically the block is the same, so it has JE forged M series spec pistons. It has M series turbo connecting rods, standard connecting rods, obviously with the oil squirter, hence the number plate M16. It also has the M16 inlet manifold, which is believed to be better for volume of air into the engine. It's all been fully rebuilt. This block, believe it or not, had 160,000 miles on it when I got it. So it's been completely rebored. I think they're 86mm pistons, so it's been rebored. The full dynamic assembly has been balanced, so the crank, the pistons, the rods, the crank pulley, the flywheel, the clutch, the whole thing's been completely balanced. has vernier calipers, it has Piper 286 regrinds on the cams, it's running wasted spark, ignition, standard, obviously boost piping, dump valve. So as this was a standard turbo block, it has the oil cooler on the back, which you probably can't see, but there's a standard oil cooler on the back of the block. Now the ECU has a boost cut chip in it to run over 15 psi, so this is currently running around 25 psi. I have some Siemens 630cc injectors with a Walbro 255 fuel pump, obviously aftermarket regulator, and it was running way too rich. It was running fine on idle with the injectors, but it was running way too rich on the boost. So I've taken off the vacuum slash pressure. I've taken off the vacuum slash pressure to the regulator, so it gives a static pressure, it's not rising rate. I've also inserted this boost controller basically into the map line, so when it's under boost, basically it leaks a bit of boost off into the ECU, which fools the ECU into what boost it's actually getting and therefore fueling for. So it's currently running high 10s, which is obviously way too rich. I run it on super unleaded with octane booster, but the aftermarket ECU is coming. That will be next on the agenda. Right, okay, so let's start it up. This is running stock ECU. Right, so that's it. Hope you enjoyed this little video. Hope you like my car. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comments below and I'll be happy to answer them. Thanks very much. Bye bye.